Wake up! Any thoughts so far, Eric?
Not really. You're kind of just nailing this.
All right, well,
I don't know. I
fucking
don't know why
going.
you have me in these videos.
Well, because I don't know, maybe I assume you'll fucking contribute something one day. But what's up, guys? Ian and Eric here from Sleep Deprivation, and today we're going to be talking about the new god, Cu Chulainn. I don't know, Cu Chulainn. Yeah. So the main thing,
Coco.
yeah, Coco, for lack of a better, yeah, Coco. Now, the reason that we're going to be talking about Coco here is all about his passive. We're going to figure out if he's broken or if he's underpowered. Because, plain and simple, his passive means he doesn't have mana, which means he can spend his abilities as much as he wants as long as he has rage, but he generates rage from his abilities and auto attacks. So let's dive in, shall we? Now, to give a little bit of more detail for those of you that don't quite know, the way his passive works, he builds up rage. Once his rage gets up to a certain point at 85, he'll actually transform into his berserk. He'll basically turn into the Hulk for a little bit, and which basically gives all of his abilities a slight modification and additional health, additional power, I think. Yeah, he gets more health, more power, a little bonus shield kind of thing, and he's just, it's pretty nice. Also, with him not having mana, any mana stat is converted 10% of that into health, and there's no need for mana pots. So in terms of rage generation, you get a little bit from autos, but the main thing you're going to want to do is hit your barbed spear, your salmon sleep. What a fucking gay name for an ability is that, salmon sleep. Jesus. And his ultimate, you're going to want to hit multiple targets, up to 3. Anything more than 3 won't count, but you can still hit more than one, but you want to hit at least 3 because, example for his one, it costs, what's the cost on it? 9 rage. But it only generates 6 per target up to a maximum of 18. So if you hit at least 2 targets, you're generating rage. If you only hit 1 target, you're losing rage. If you hit no targets and you just fucking whiff, well, you're going to be in deep fucking shit. So, yeah. Interesting. Now, I tried messing around with them both, solo and jungle a little bit, as well as in arena. And before we kind of like dive into the critical analysis, is there anything that I missed that you want to go over, Eric?
Not really. I mean, I think he's quite the cool character, but we'll get more into that when you make the analysis.
Yeah. Overall, one of the biggest issues with this kit is it lacks any sort of real CC, except for his ultimate, which has a short knockup, I think is the best way to describe it. It's not a very long one. But other than that, he doesn't have a lot of CC, which makes him a little weird. Also, with the fact that he generates rage other than his ultimate only off of his one and his jump, you're often going to be using his jump aggressively, which means his retreat potential is not that great as well. But then again, a lot of warriors don't have the best retreat capabilities or massive dashes or anything like that. With that being said, I feel like where he shines the most is he's not going to be your typical warrior that you build like all tank and just use as like a complete second frontliner, which is why I don't think he's super great in the solo laner. But I feel like he's more of he does well as a jungle because he runs as a bruiser type build, because where he shines the most is jumping into a fight, running through his kit, transforming with the berserk, and then using all of his kit again, which basically allows for 2 sets of ultimates to go off and 2 full sets of kits to do a good amount of burst damage in a short period of time, because you're basically throwing out 8 abilities. The downside is that when he doesn't get to use his berserk, he's actually pretty underwhelming, I think. He doesn't do a shit ton of damage. Like, his one has only 45% scaling on 315 damage, which is nothing stupendous. It's all right. His jump, pretty good scaling actually for a jump, but it's only 60%. He only gets 5% scaling per tick, but it's every 0.5 seconds for that, so that's a grand total of 60% scaling if all the ticks hit, which is nothing to write home about. And his ultimate gets 65% scaling for the base one, and if he's in his other form, it does less damage, but it's 50% as well. So because he can effectively get off 2 ultimates at once, because usually if you jump into a fight and you get your ultimate off on multiple people, that'll push you over into rage threshold to get you into your berserk mode, which you kind of work with being able to use these both at the same time, but that doesn't always work out. So the reason why I like him in jungle is it's pretty easy to consistently build up your rage off of minion camps or sharing waves, but he's too reliant right now on minions to be consistent, I find. Any thoughts so far, Eric?
Not really. You're kind of just nailing this.
All right, well,
I don't know. I don't know why you have me in these videos.
Well, because I don't know, maybe I assume you'll fucking contribute something one day, but
what am I going to contribute? You've already talked about everything, you cuck.
Well, fuck, we didn't plan this. Oh, fucking Christ. All right, one other thing he does pretty well is, though, he does have an anti-heal built into his kit, which, considering the fact that there's a lot of healing going out lately, that could be quite useful, I guess. Fucking Christ, I don't know. He's definitely not broken. Honestly, I'd say he's a fun god to play around in casuals, but unless you get some changes made, he's not going to be super impactful in ranked, because
I think he's only really good in the jungle. I don't think he's worth solo lane, because like against a Bologna or a Osiris, he's going to get dicked on.
Yeah, he's not going to have a lot of good 1v1 potential, because like I said, his sole purpose, or sorry, his sole strength is in that berserk, and that berserk is, it's not the easiest thing to keep control of, because you want to make sure it goes off when you want it to go off, but the only real way to make sure that you don't accidentally overrage is using your vent anger, because it's the only ability in your kit that doesn't generate rage. But even so, sometimes that's not enough, because you'll continue, generating rage faster than you can spend it sometimes, unless you start intentionally missing abilities.
I've done that before.
Yeah, which...
Because the nice thing about not using mana is that, like, if you do miss abilities, it's like, as long as you have enough to go and, like, keep going with your abilities, like, it's not gonna hurt you in any way, shape, or form.
One really neat thing that you can do that works super well with him, because he doesn't need mana, is you can, if you are going in the solo lane, you can run a HP cauldron, whatever, health cauldron,
a health chalice,
whatever.
And then health pots as well.
Yeah, that thing. So basically, you're effectively able to use 2 sets of health pots at the same time, so you have a lot of potion sustain in the early game in lane, and you don't have to worry about backing for mana whenever. So with your clear being pretty decent as well, you're pretty solid in the early game.
Which, if you're in, you don't know that you can, have a mana or a health chalice and health pots at the same time, which is kind of amusing.
Well, I'm sorry, I've never run into a situation where I'm like, hey, I'm gonna run both of those, because usually super early game I want mana, or I get to a later point where mana isn't an issue, but health pots are irrelevant, so why the fuck am I spending my money on them? Like,
I'm gonna blow your mind, Ian. Think of that on Thanatos.
Okay, that would be cool if I was playing Thanatos solo in Season 4.
Which you should be.
No.
Broken.
No, I shouldn't be.
It's broken.
No, it's
accept it. Accept it.
Okay, the potions are cool, but it's still... No, I'm not going to do it. But
it's fucking broken. You're just a troll.
One other neat thing, getting back to Cu Chulainn for a second. Coco. I don't know, fucking...
Yeah. The Coco. You want the Coco.
He has a very strong, ironically enough, level 3. Because you can put 2 points in the 1... and 1 point in the 3, you'll have no points in the 2, but if you enter your Berserk, in Berserk form, your Vent Anger is always active, so it'll be as if you had a point in there initially. Anyways.
Is that an actual thing?
Yeah, it's an actual thing. I actually did it last match. It's super cool.
Huh.
So you can get some good early pressure in that form. But honestly, like Eric was saying in the solo lane, I don't see him really winning against most warriors in lane. He'll probably do fine in the actual laning phase, but he's a little underwhelming because if you build him full tank, he doesn't really have the crowd control or other things to be super effective, I guess. And in the jungle, he can be pretty interesting, especially if you're able to control your rage well and just jump on a target, blow your kit, and then get the berserk to go off when you want it to go off. Because if you can do that, you can get up some nasty, surprising burst damage that they just won't be ready for. But you're not going to be hitting super big damage on each individual hit. It's all about making sure you land like pretty much every fucking ability going in, and then getting that berserk, and then landing every fucking ability again.
True.
So, now
he's like a really tanky Uller with a tiny arm and then a jack-off arm. You can't even deny this. He has a jack-off arm. Like one of his arms is like normal size, and the other is just massive. It's hilarious.
And
like you haven't noticed, Ian.
I actually hadn't noticed that one of them's a little bigger. Okay, all right. Well, ending on that point, I guess. He's definitely not broken. Honestly, he's pretty much mainly only really viable in the jungle. You could get away with solo, but
if we ever do a tier list again, I would put him as like maybe an A or a B.
Definitely not an A. He's going to be a B because think about it. Like in the jungle I can't talk. In the jungle role, are you really going to want to have a Cu Chulainn over pretty much almost all the assassins?
Yeah.
Really? I'd have
it over a Bastet.
Okay, all right. We're
or
not
an
including
Alquang or a Bakasura.
Okay,
or a Loki.
Sorry. Those, do we really count those as junglers?
Yes.
Are we going to go into... No, okay.
Yes.
For all of you watching, do not play any of the fucking gods he just mentioned because they're complete trash.
Alquang OP, dude.
Okay, Alquang, if he gets to late game, is OP. But considering the fact that there's still a little bit of snowball potential in jungling right now, don't do it because then you're going to lose out on clear, you're going to lose on your buff camps, and you won't make it to late game because you're going to be stuck just being out-farmed like fucking hell. Also, Bastet, just don't do it. She's dumb. God forbid you fucking touch Loki. I will find you. I don't know who you are. I will find you, and I will cut you.
I believe it.
Oh, fucking hate Loki. But yeah, play around with him in casuals, but unless he gets any sort of major buffs or some sort of CC added into his kit, I don't really see him being something that anyone should pick in ranked anytime soon.
True.
All right. Other than that, that was our thoughts on this god. I will say major props though to Hi-Rez for trying something new and something different. Like he truly feels like something completely different from the rest of the entire roster of gods, and I like that. I like the fact that his abilities in his Berserk form are the same but mildly different. I like the fact that he has no mana. It's unique. I just like him. He's fun, but kind of shit.
He is very... I think he's an interesting god, which is something that Smite hasn't had in a while.
Yeah. Who is it that they released before this?
Dodgy. We don't talk about Dodgy.
Hey, Dodgy's kind of fun. Fuck.
Oh, she's
all right.
She's garbage.
Dodgy's an entirely different video. We're not going to get into that. Just all you need to know is that, yeah, not broken. Mess around with him unless they change him. Don't bring him in ranked. Also, don't play Loki. Just fucking don't play Loki. I don't care what the game mode is. I don't care. No matter what, just don't fucking play Loki.